Welcome YouTubers, and today we have a Ultrasabers review. Which do you think I'll be reviewing today? You guessed it. I'm going to be reviewing the Lost Gray and the Fulcrum. These are beasts of hilts. The Lost Gray being the offhand and the Fulcrum being the standard hilt of choice. Loosely based after the Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars hilt that you'll see in Season 3, spoilers or whatever. These hilts are truly beautiful, and once I saw them, I had to purchase them. I needed to have them, but I couldn't get them because I didn't know enough about Ultrasabers to dump that much money into them. So initially, I went ahead and brought an Ultrasabers basic Dark Initiate V4 before making my decision to go further into Ultrasabers. And as you can see, it panned out because that Dark Initiate V4 gave me the impression that Ultrasabers is not one to mess with. And once I got these bad boys, or girls, there was no way I would have passed them up. Now, let's go over the Fulcrum first. Now, I know there are reviews already covering these, but this is my personal opinion. They might follow some, they might not follow some of the more fanboyish or haters of the reviews, but this has got some weight to it. It's got a really good weight to it, and being that this is the main hilt that's supposed to be paired with the Lost Gray as an offhand, this is by far the size of my forearm and hand together. So that is a massive, massive length of a hilt, and it's a little thicker than most of their other standard hilts. It's by far a lot heavier than their standard hilts, but given that it feels sturdy, makes up for that lack of unconfidence you would have if you were to be holding a Dark Initiate. So, a few options. The black Illuminated AV button, I believe I got it in blue. I'm not sure. I'll check it when I turn it on. These buttons here, comes with the CoverTech clip. I don't really care for those. If this hilt did not have this, or the CoverTech wheel, or even this, I would have been just as satisfied. The option to have that copper button up here, that is probably the only thing that I would have kept, along with the AV button. This box, it looks like it's in the way, and it feels like it can be in the way, but if you're gripping it like this, it's in two hands, especially since it's such a long one, with your index and your thumb being behind the what he calls tombstones or bunny ears. With a thumb this way, these buttons don't get in the way because you will not be able to fully clasp your hands unless you have huge hands. And one here, it wields just fine. Right? So, that being the way it's positioned, it was kind of smart. But this is not something I would be wielding with this on the offhand. I'm not that massive. As you can see, I'm a slim build. I would be more of a Darth Maul type fighter, and with this, not capable. I am not capable of wielding this with one hand, or being that agile with this, especially if it's only one-sided, with most of the weight being on the bottom portion. You can see that the bottom portion of this hilt flares a lot thicker. Plus it's got the awkward buttons here and the cover tech. And it's like holding a bounty roll. Yeah, that's like a bounty roll. It's awkward. You wouldn't want to hold it there. You would definitely hold it here. Now, I have found that you can remove these, but removing them will cause the outer shroud and the inner hilt to kind of fall loose. The tolerances are kind of tight, are close together, but they're not actually one piece. So if you were to remove the cover tech by this, I think it's a 2mm hex screw thumb. If you were to remove these, as I have, I found out that the inner core of the hilt rotates, so it doesn't actually come out, but it's just a little looser, and when you will be able to hear it. Now this is just there's a blade plug in there that's kind of shaking. So with that, it's a little disappointing, but you know what? I didn't get these for dueling. I actually got these because these were beautiful, and these were, I know, were going to be my display pieces. Now I have done some dueling with it, and that's how I came to the conclusion that this is not a dueling hilt, at least not for me. Maybe other people might be easier with bigger hands, might be easier to use these and might feel comfortable wielding these, but I don't. So I have other hilts from Ultrasabers that don't look this good, this beautiful, this gorgeous, and those are easier to wield, but they don't look as pretty as the Fulcrum or the Lost Gray. So it is a very beautiful functioning centerpiece or display piece. Now for the Lost Gray, I actually liked the Lost Gray more than I liked the Fulcrum upon sight, and knowing that this was the offhand to the Fulcrum, I had to get it. I had to get the Fulcrum. So I'm not disappointed. I don't regret it. They are one of the same. They are brother and sister. You can't have one and not have the other. You can't. You can't. So, with the Lost Gray, the same problem I find is the cover tech wheel is holding together the outer core and the inner core of the hilt. So if I were to remove this, which is like the only thing that's stopping this from being like a solid hold all the way through, you know, if I were to remove that, this would slide around a little bit. It would wiggle around loosely. So I'm pretty sure if I found the right sized lug nut or retention screw that sits flush inside to keep it from moving, I could probably do that, but it would have to sit flush, and I'll have to see that little head of the screw on the hilt instead of seeing this whole, or feeling this whole cover tick clip in my hand as I'm wielding it. This is a more wieldable saber, about the size of my forearm. In comparison to the Fulcrum, you can see it's about 2.5 inches, 3 inches. But what's cool about that is these come stock, these pommels come stock, but it's a 2-part pommel, or at least that's a 1-part pommel, but this bottom piece comes off of the Fulcrum, and what you can end up doing is swapping it with the Lost Gray and extending it to be as long as the Fulcrum. And you can, and by that is the Fulcrum's a little shorter, so you can actually see the height difference. And since you're not really grasping here anyway, this isn't too much in the way. It is thicker than the rest of the hilt, but you can see this, the difference in length is now a lot more manageable. Given this is still not going to be used for, you know, dueling. I wouldn't use both at the same time. If I were going to use them for dueling, at least this one, it would have to be a two-hander. Majority is going to be a two-hander. And I actually like the way this looks, the way it does with that piece from the Fulcrum on it. Now, simple, basic, you'll see them in all its glory before we go. And I would like to say Ultrasabers did a great job with the Lost Gray and the Fulcrum. Are they duelable? Yes. Are they comfortable to use? The Lost Gray is. Fulcrum, not so much. Do they make great showpieces? Definitely. Is the quality still there? Yes. They are absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous display pieces that double as functional, fully functional. So I'm going to say goodbye and leave you with the colors and the clashes. Happy